He held the paper like it was radioactive, like touching it too long might burn him. His fingers trembled around the edges, and for a moment, he couldn't even look at me. This, he said slowly, voice warping under the weight of the words. This is the night everything fell apart, my breath caught. Then tell me. But he didn't speak. Not yet. Instead, he stared at the paper as if it contained both the disaster and the regret of his life. Then he unfolded it carefully, revealing the page that had turned my veins cold the moment I glimpsed it. A receipt? A bill? A letter? No. Something worse. Something that felt too official, too incriminating, too deliberate. Daniel, I pressed, you're scaring me. He closed his eyes as if bracing himself for pain that hadn't hit yet. I should have told you the moment it happened, he whispered, but I thought I could bury it. I thought it wouldn't come back. I took a step closer, not out of trust, but because the suspense was suffocating. What did you bury? The words tasted like fear. He finally opened his eyes, and there was a hollow kind of defeat inside them. A man standing in front of a cliff he had no choice but to jump from. You remember that night? He asked quietly. When I came home late, soaked, shaking, and I said it was just a rough shift? I nodded slowly. I remember. I lied. His voice cracked. I didn't come from work. I came from... He paused, exhaled, and looked away. From where, Daniel? He rubbed his palms over his face, dragging down until his shoulders collapsed. There was an accident. Ice crawled up my spine. What kind of accident? A real one. His voice trembled. On the highway, around 11 p.m. My heartbeat stuttered. You hit someone. The words escaped before I could stop them. He didn't answer. That silence, that single, suffocating silence, was enough. You hit someone? My voice rose, shaking with disbelief. No, he snapped reflexively. Then his shoulders sagged. Not exactly. Not exactly? I repeated, my voice trembling. What does that mean? He lifted the paper again, pressing a thumb against a name scribbled at the bottom. The person, they weren't supposed to be there. They ran out into the road. No warning, no lights, no visibility. I tried to swerve. My breath felt tight, thin. Daniel, did someone? They lived, he cut in quickly. But they got hurt, really hurt. And you didn't tell the police? I did, he said, voice cracking. I called. I reported it. I waited with them for the ambulance. I did everything right. My chest loosened, slightly, but only for a heartbeat. Then what's the problem? I whispered. He looked at the paper again, haunted. The problem, he said slowly, is what happened after the police left. I felt my stomach twist. What happened after? His eyes darkened. The person's family came after me. They demanded money, a lot of it. His voice thickened with shame, and I didn't have it. I blinked, shocked, confused. So you went to your mother? He nodded weakly. She paid them to stay quiet, he said. She paid them to keep the story out of the news, out of court, out of everything. Slow dread crawled through my body. Daniel, how much money? His laugh was empty, broken. Enough that she's been draining me ever since. Then, quietly. Enough that canceling those cards was like cutting the oxygen from someone drowning. I covered my mouth. This wasn't a shopping spree. This wasn't a spoiled mother-in-law. It was blackmail, silenced violence, a secret purchased in installments. And now, Daniel whispered, looking me dead in the eyes, they want more. My knees weakened. Who? I choked out. He didn't blink. He didn't hesitate. The family, he said. They contacted her again. I felt the world shift a tilt, a jolt, a wrongness. Daniel, I whispered, voice cracking. What did that paper say? He finally handed it to me. My hands shook as I opened it fully, and the header alone made my blood freeze. Final demand, immediate payment required. But it wasn't the demand that broke me. It was the handwritten note at the bottom. If your wife cancels one more card, we'll come directly to her. I stared at the handwritten note at the bottom of the demand letter. The ink smeared just enough to prove someone wrote it in a rush. If your wife cancels one more card, we'll come directly to her. For a moment, the hallway spun. My hands went numb. My throat tightened. My vision tunneled, as if the edges of the world were folding inward. I didn't hear myself gasp. I didn't realize I had dropped the paper until it fluttered to the floor between us. Daniel lunged to grab it, as if seeing the words again might set the house on fire. "Sarah, listen," he tried, but I stumbled back from him like he was a stranger. "They're threatening me?" My voice came out small, cracked. "Me, Daniel?" He looked sick. "Sarah, please." "You told your mother before you told your wife?" My voice rose without permission. He flinched. "I didn't want to drag you into this." "You didn't want to?" I laughed, but it was a broken sound. "They dragged me in, Daniel. They wrote my name on a threat." He moved closer again, hands out as if approaching someone on the edge of a cliff. "I didn't know they would do that. I thought everything was handled. I thought—" "No." I held up a shaking hand. "Do not tell me you thought anything. You hid all of this. You let your mother carry it. And now you're telling me a family you hit with your car wants revenge money?" He clenched his jaw, guilt and fear twisting his expression. "They're not just any family," he said softly. That chilled me deeper. "What does that mean?" I whispered. He swallowed hard. "They're connected, influential, dangerous, Sarah." "Dangerous?" The word echoed in my skull. He nodded grimly. "I found out too late. I thought it was just an accident settlement. But they have people. They have reach. And when my mother stepped in, they redirected everything through her." I stared at him, stunned. "So all this time," I said slowly, "the shopping, the cards, the attitude, she wasn't exploiting you. She was paying off your secret?" Daniel nodded miserably. "And I canceled the only card she could use." My voice faded as horror crept up my spine. "Which means I just cut off her protection." He didn't speak. He didn't need to. His silence confirmed everything. I pressed a hand to my forehead, my breath coming in shallow waves. "How long has this been going on, Daniel?" "Months," he whispered. "I kept telling myself I'd pay her back. I'd fix it. I'd handle the rest. But then," he paused, eyes flicking toward the door. I followed his gaze. The house felt different now, like the walls were listening, like someone could be outside. "But then what?" I asked. "They escalated," he muttered. "They stopped calling me, stopped calling her. And this showed up." He held the letter like a dirty secret. A hard truth pressed through my chest. "So she wasn't buying clothes today," I murmured. "She was buying time." Daniel didn't answer. He didn't need to. The truth hung between us like thick smoke. He stepped closer again, voice cracking. "Sarah, I'm so sorry. I never wanted you to be part of this." I felt something inside me shift. Fear, anger, and a strange cold clarity. "Daniel," I said, meeting his eyes with a steadiness I didn't feel. "If they're threatening me, why now?" He hesitated. The hesitation was worse than an answer. "Tell me," I demanded. "Why now?" He closed his eyes. "When you canceled the cards," he let out a shaky breath. "They took it as a message." A message? That we weren't cooperating anymore. A chill crawled up my spine. "Daniel, what happens when people like that think someone isn't cooperating?" He looked at me with a fear so raw it stole my breath. "They don't send letters anymore." That night, I heard a noise outside our window, a slow, deliberate tap, and when I looked out, I saw something on the doorstep that turned my blood to ice. Her face twisted with rage as she pointed a shaking finger at me. "Give me back those cards right now. You have no idea what you've just done." But instead of panicking, I stayed calm. I walked to the drawer, pulled out the credit card statements, and placed them on the table between us. Every charge, every luxury store, every small emergency purchase, all in her handwriting. She glanced at the papers, her eyes darting back and forth. The color drained from her face. For a moment, silence. Then she exploded again. "This is your fault. If you were a better wife, he wouldn't be making mistakes. I deserve compensation for the stress you caused." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. But before I could respond, the door opened. My husband walked in. He looked between us, then at the scattered statements. And the expression on his face? Pure guilt. "Mom," he said quietly. "Stop." "She knows." Her head snapped toward him. "Knew what?" she demanded. That was the moment everything began to unravel. My husband swallowed hard, avoiding both of our eyes. His mother stepped closer to him, desperate, furious. What does she know? She pressed. Tell me. He ran a hand over his face. Mom, I told her the truth. About the money. About the mess I made. She froze. No, she whispered. You wouldn't. But he did. I watched her expression shift from shock to betrayal to something almost like fear. You told her everything? She hissed. He nodded slowly. That the reason you've been shopping was because you were covering for my mistakes at work. That I let you use the card so you wouldn't tell Dad. That I messed up more than I admitted. Her eyes burned like fire. Do you have any idea what trouble you've caused? She snapped at him. Your father will never let this go. And now she pointed at me like I was the enemy knows too much. My husband lowered his voice. It had to come out eventually. His mother turned to me again, her voice trembling with rage. You think you did something brave canceling my cards? No. You just ruined everything. You've humiliated my son. I stepped forward, finally done being silent. No, I said firmly. He humiliated himself, and you helped him hide it. For the first time, she didn't have a comeback. She just stared at me, jaw tight, eyes burning. And then, she said something that changed everything. Her voice dropped to a cold, trembling whisper, one that didn't sound angry anymore, but terrified. You don't understand what you've just done, she said. You think this is just about credit cards? About shopping? About him making a few mistakes? She shook her head slowly, like she was speaking to a naive child. No, this is bigger, much bigger. My husband stiffened. Mom, don't. She cut him off sharply. She deserves to know now, since you told her. Everything else. Why not this too? My heartbeat kicked up. What are you talking about? She turned toward me, tears building in her eyes, but not falling. Your husband didn't just mess up at work, she said. He messed with the wrong people. My stomach dropped. What do you mean, wrong people? My husband stepped between us. Mom, stop, please. But she pushed him aside with a strength that didn't fit her body. He took money from a client, she whispered. Money that wasn't his. Money he was supposed to return. But he didn't. He panicked. He lied. And when they started asking questions, he came to me. Because he knew his father would throw him out. My breath caught. Wait, he stole? My husband pressed his palms to his forehead. It wasn't stealing. It was stealing, she snapped. And when I couldn't cover everything anymore, I used your card. A wave of cold washed over me. My husband looked at me helplessly. I was going to pay it back. All of it. I just needed time. I stared at them both, feeling my world tilt. What kind of client was this? Why are you both so afraid? His mother took a shaky breath, as if saying the next words might break her. They're not normal clients. She swallowed hard. These people don't call lawyers. They don't file reports. They handle things themselves. My chest tightened. Are you saying we're in danger? She didn't answer at first. She just whispered they already came once. A chill ran down my spine so sharp I could barely breathe. Came where? Came for who? And how much did they know about us? And then she said the one sentence that made my blood run cold. They said next time. They're coming for the wife. For a moment, I couldn't hear anything. Not the ticking clock, not the cars outside, not even my own breathing, just that one sentence echoing in my head. Next time, they're coming for the wife. My knees almost buckled. What do you mean coming for the wife? I whispered, my voice barely holding together. My mother-in-law closed her eyes, as if wishing she could pull the words back. But it was too late. Everything was already unraveling. They showed up at our house, she said quietly. 2 men, calm, polite, too polite. They asked for him. She nodded at my husband. When I said he wasn't home, they smiled. And one of them said, tell him he has 1 week, or we'll collect from the wife. My breath faltered. My husband looked sick, pacing the living room like the walls were caving in. I was going to handle it, he insisted. I had a plan. You had nothing, she snapped back. You were drowning, and instead of asking for help, you pulled her in with you. I took a step back, my hands trembling. So, all this time, I said, staring at my husband, you let me walk around, cook dinner, sleep, next to you, knowing someone out there was planning to come after me? He froze. I didn't want to scare you, he said weakly. I thought I could fix it before they tried anything. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was the only thing stopping me from breaking down completely. Fix it? I repeated. You couldn't even fix your lies. His face twisted with guilt. I'm sorry. And the credit cards? I asked. Was that part of your plan too? His shoulders slumped. Mom thought she could pay them off before you noticed. I thought, if we bought time, if I worked extra, they'd back off. My mother-in-law turned toward me again. I know I'm not your favorite person, she said. And I know this looks unforgivable, but I swear on my life, when they said your name, when they said they were coming for you, I would have sold the house to protect you if I had to. Silence. Heavy. Tense. Suffocating. I pressed a hand to my forehead, trying to breathe. So why tell me now? I asked. Why today? My mother-in-law exchanged a terrified glance with her son. He swallowed. Because... He ran a shaking hand through his hair. They called me again this morning. My heart stopped. What did they say? He looked at me with eyes so full of guilt and fear that I felt it like a punch to the chest. They said the week is up. My blood turned to ice. And they're already on their way. The words hit me like a physical blow. On their way? I repeated, barely able to form the sounds. To here? My husband didn't speak, didn't nod, but the silent dread in his eyes told me everything. My mother-in-law pressed a trembling hand to her mouth. Oh, God! They can't come here. They can't! My pulse hammered so violently I could hear it in my ears. 1,000 thoughts crashed in my head all at once. Lock the doors. Call the police. Run. Hide. Scream at him. Do something. But I didn't do any of those things. I stood frozen. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I whispered, staring at my husband like he was a stranger. I thought I could stall them, he said, his voice shaking. I thought if I showed them I was trying to get the money. How? I snapped. By letting your mother max out my credit cards? By lying to me? By pretending everything was fine while people were planning to hurt me? He clenched his jaw. I was protecting you. You were protecting yourself, I fired back. My mother-in-law moved between us, tears in her eyes. Please, not now. We need to think. I turned toward her. No, you need to think. You helped him bury this. You hid it from his father, from everyone, including me. That makes you just as guilty. She swallowed hard, but didn't deny it. Because she couldn't. We can call the police, she said finally. We can explain. No. My husband cut her off. They said if I involved the police, they'd take it as a threat. So what? I said bitterly. We just wait for them to walk in and decide my fate? He stepped closer, too close, reaching for my hands. I swear, I never meant for you to be part of this. I'll fix it. I'll handle it. Before he could finish, a loud, heavy thud hit our front door. All three of us froze. Another thud. This one harder, deliberate. My heart stopped mid-beat. My husband's face drained of color. No, he whispered. Not this soon. My mother-in-law grabbed his arm. What do we do? What do we do? But no one answered, because none of us knew. Another knock. Slow, measured, like someone who didn't need permission to enter, just patience. I took a step back, breath shaking out of me. My husband whispered, "Stay behind me." But for the first time since this nightmare began, I didn't trust him, at all. The knocking stopped. And then a voice through the door, calm and unnervingly polite. Open up. We just want to talk. My entire body turned numb. Because polite wasn't comforting. It was a warning. That voice, smooth, patient, almost friendly, was somehow the most terrifying sound I had ever heard. My husband stepped toward the door like a man walking into his own execution. Don't, I whispered, grabbing his arm. He didn't look at me, just stared straight ahead, jaw tight, breath shallow. I have to, he muttered. If I don't, they'll what? I snapped in a harsh whisper. Do you really think opening that door ends well for any of us? Another knock, this time softer. Like the person on the other side was smiling. My mother-in-law's hand flew to her chest. Please, she whispered. Please don't open it. The voice came again, still calm. Come now. Don't make this harder. We know you're inside. We only want a conversation. No need for fear. My blood ran cold. No need for fear? Then why did I feel like my soul was trying to climb out of my body? My husband pressed his forehead against the door, eyes shut tight. I'll tell them I'm fixing it, he said. I'll tell them I have the money coming. You don't, I hissed. You don't have anything but lies. His mother grabbed his other arm. Son, listen to me. If you open that door, they won't talk. They'll take. And they won't care who's standing in their way. He looked between us, his terrified mother, his furious wife, and the shaking door behind him, and he broke. I never wanted any of this, he whispered, voice cracking. I swear to God, I thought I could fix it before it got here. A quiet chuckle came from outside. And then the voice said, Last chance. Open the door yourself, or we do it for you. My heart punched against my ribs. We need a plan, I whispered. We cannot let them in. My mother-in-law's eyes darted around the room in panic. Back door, we can run. No, my husband said instantly. If we run, they'll think we're disrespecting them. They'll chase. So standing here is better? I shot back. Letting them come in on their own terms? Before he could answer, the handle rattled. Slowly, testing us. My stomach dropped so fast, it felt like I fell through the floor. The voice sighed dramatically. All right then. A short silence, a shift of weight on the porch, and then, bang! The door shook violently under a powerful kick. My mother-in-law screamed. Please, she cried. Please don't do this. Another bang, harder this time. A splintering crack raced across the doorframe. My husband backed away, shaking, eyes fixed on the weakening lock. They're breaking in, I whispered. They won't stop, he said hollowly. A third, thunderous bang, and the upper hinge snapped. The door tilted. My breath caught. The next hit would bring it down. My husband moved in front of me, arms outstretched like a shield. But I didn't feel protected. I felt trapped. The voice on the other side said one final chilling sentence, a quiet promise that froze me from the inside out. Don't worry, we only need one of you. The final blow struck. The door began to fall, and that's when I noticed something behind my mother-in-law, a shadow moving in the hallway. Someone else was inside the house. Someone none of us had seen come in. For a split second, I thought my mind was playing tricks on me. A shadow behind my mother-in-law, shifting in the hallway, tall and silent, but then it moved again. Not a trick. Not my imagination. Someone was inside our house. My mother-in-law felt the air shift behind her. She turned, and the color drained from her face. Standing at the end of the hallway was a man. Not the ones outside, someone else entirely. He wasn't wearing a mask. He wasn't hiding. He stood casually, hands in his pockets, as if he'd been waiting for this exact moment. Mom, my husband breathed, voice trembling. Did you leave the back door unlocked? She shook her head frantically. No, I swear I didn't. I checked it twice. The man stepped forward into a sliver of light. I couldn't breathe. He was dressed neatly, almost formally, dark slacks, a pressed shirt, expensive watch. Not a thug, not a random intruder. Someone with purpose. Someone who belonged to the same world as the men outside, but operated on a different level. My husband stumbled backward. No, 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 he whispered. He's one of theirs. The stranger lifted one finger to his lips. Shh. The single sound shut everyone's mouth like a switch. Even the pounding on the front door stopped as if whoever was outside felt the presence of someone more important inside. The stranger smiled politely. Good evening, he said, voice smooth, calm, and deeply unsettling. No need for panic. I let myself in since your attention was elsewhere. My mother-in-law pressed herself against the wall. Please, she whispered. Please don't hurt them. He raised an eyebrow, almost offended. Hurt? No, no. Violence is unnecessary unless someone makes it necessary. His eyes drifted to my husband. And you have made it very, very messy. My husband swallowed hard. I. I'm getting the money. I swear I am. I just need more time. The man tilted his head slightly, studying him the way a surgeon examines a flawed organ. Time, he repeated softly. Tell me, do you give your wife time, or only the ones you owe? My chest tightened. He knew everything, every detail, every lie, every mistake. My husband dropped to his knees. Please, please don't take her. I'll do anything. The man didn't look at him. He looked at me. His eyes were unreadable, dark but intelligent, sharp enough to see right through me. You're the wife, he said. Not a question, a statement. I forced myself to nod, though my legs were shaking. Yes. He stepped closer, footsteps soft against the floor. You didn't know, he said. You weren't part of this. No, I whispered. I had no idea. He stopped just a few feet away, studying my face with chilling calm. And yet, he murmured, you're the one they wanted to collect. Interesting. My husband crawled toward him. Please, if you need someone to take me. The stranger cut him off with a small wave of his hand. No, you're too weak to make an example of. My husband froze. My mother-in-law let out a choked sob. Then the man turned back to me, his expression unreadable. You canceled the cards, he said. You confronted the lies. You forced the truth forward. I didn't know what to say. Was that good? Bad? He nodded once, as if reaching a conclusion. You, he said quietly, might be the only sensible person in this entire house. A long, suffocating silence filled the room. Then he dropped the bomb that shattered everything we thought we knew. I'm not here for the money. He paused. I'm here to warn you. My eyes widened. Warn me. About what? His answer was barely above a whisper, but it was enough to make every hair on my body stand up. Your husband's mistake wasn't stealing, he said. It was who he stole from. He leaned in closer. And what your husband doesn't know is that they planned to hurt you even after the debt was repaid. My heartbeat stopped, because that meant this wasn't about money anymore. This was about me. My skin went cold. Not the kind of cold you feel on a winter night, but the kind that sinks into your bones, heavy and paralyzing. Even after the debt was repaid? I whispered. That makes no sense. Why me? The man didn't answer right away. He studied me with unsettling calm, as if deciding how much truth I could survive. My husband, still on his knees, shook his head violently. No, no, that can't be true. I talked to them. They said what you needed to hear. The man cut in. Not what was real. My husband's face crumpled. My mother-in-law leaned against the wall, silently sobbing into her hands. But the stranger's eyes never left mine. You want to know why they chose you? He asked softly. I swallowed hard, nodding. He stepped closer. I could smell faint cologne, clean, sharp, so at odds with the dread curling in my stomach. Because, he said, your husband gave them your name. My breath caught so sharply, I tasted metal. What? My husband stammered. The man nodded. Oh, don't play innocent. You offered her up as collateral. My heart shattered mid-beat. No, my husband choked out. No, that's not. I was desperate. I only mentioned her because I thought they'd see I had something to lose, something worth negotiating for. A tear slipped down my cheek. Hot, humiliating, furious. You used me, I whispered. He crawled forward, grabbing my hands like a drowning man clinging to a rope. I didn't think. I just wanted to scare them into backing off. Scare them? The stranger repeated with soft disbelief. You attempted to bluff wolves using your wife's life as bait. My husband froze. The stranger straightened his sleeves calmly. They weren't after the money. They didn't need it. They wanted leverage over you, to get to someone much bigger. He glanced toward the broken door, where the thug still waited silently outside. But when they realized your wife was innocent, untouched by your schemes, they got greedy. My voice broke. Greedy for what? His answer sliced into me like ice. For control. A suffocating silence filled the living room. He lowered his voice. They wanted her because she's clean, honest, trustworthy, a perfect pawn. Something your husband is not. He paused. They plan to use you to manipulate him, indefinitely. My knees weakened, and I stumbled backward. This wasn't a threat. This wasn't a warning. This was a sentence. My mother-in-law suddenly pushed forward, trembling but fierce. "Why are you telling us this?" she cried. "If you're with them." "I'm not," he said simply. "I work above them." Above them. My husband's head jerked up. "No, no, that can't be. Those men, those guys outside, they treat you like I'm their superior," the man finished dryly. "Yes, that's generally how hierarchy works." He sighed, looking almost bored now. "I'm here because this situation has become unsanctioned, sloppy, emotional, personal, and that," he looked at my husband sharply, "is not allowed." A pause. A shift of gravity in the room. My breath hitched. "What happens now?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. He looked at me, only me. "You," he said, "have one chance to walk away from all of this. Cleanly." My husband's eyes widened in panic. "Wait, what about me? What happens to me?" The stranger turned to him slowly, coldly. "You? You will face the consequences of your choices." "No, no, please don't." But the stranger cut him off with a small, almost pitying exhale. "You sold your wife's name to save yourself. There is nothing left to negotiate." My husband collapsed into trembling sobs. The stranger walked toward me, stopping an arm's length away. "You leave. Tonight," he said. No forwarding address, no contact, no hesitation. My mother-in-law looked horrified. "You're telling her to abandon him?" "I'm telling her to survive." He reached into his pocket and handed me a simple black card, blank. No number, no name. "Call this when you're safe," he said. "They'll erase your husband's mess from your record. You'll be protected." I stared at the card, hands shaking. "And my husband?" I whispered. The man tilted his head, as if studying a creature too foolish to understand danger. He made his choice. I stepped back. My husband screamed after me. "No, don't leave, please. You can't walk out on me. They'll kill me." But for the first time since this nightmare began, I wasn't the one shaking. I wasn't the one begging. I wasn't the one trapped. I finally understood the danger wasn't the men at the door. The danger had been living next to me, sleeping beside me, calling himself my husband. I turned toward the broken doorway and saw the shadow of someone approaching outside. Not kicking, not threatening, just waiting. Waiting for him, and someone else waiting for me. My decision would determine who walked out alive tonight. I stood between two worlds, the one behind me, collapsing under the weight of lies, and the one ahead of me, dark and uncertain, yet somehow the only path that felt real. My husband clawed at the floor, reaching for my ankles like a panicked child. "Please, please don't leave me. They'll kill me. You're the only one who can fix this." I stepped out of his reach. For the first time, I wasn't the one shrinking. I wasn't the one apologizing. I wasn't the one in pieces. "You didn't think about me when you handed them my name," I said quietly. "You didn't think about me when your mother spent my money to hide your mess. You didn't think about me when danger walked into our lives." He sobbed harder. "Baby, I didn't mean it. I was scared, and you used me anyway." The front door hung half-broken, the night air cold against my skin. The men outside stood still, like statues carved from shadow, waiting, patient, disciplined, but their posture had changed. They weren't here for me anymore. The stranger inside the house, the one who outranked all of them, gave a soft nod, and they stepped aside, clearing a path. A path for me. My mother-in-law ran toward me, tears streaking her face. "Please, please don't leave him alone. I know he was wrong. I know." I looked at her, truly looked at her. She wasn't evil. She was terrified. A mother blinded by fear, by love, by desperation. "I hope you understand something," I said gently. "I'm not leaving him to be cruel." I exhaled shakily. "I'm leaving because I finally learned how much my life is worth." She covered her mouth and broke down. The stranger approached the doorway, stopping just behind me. "It's time," he said softly. My husband screamed my name until his voice cracked, raw and desperate. But desperation wasn't love. It was possession, fear of losing control. I stepped outside. The cold hit me like a baptism, sharp, awakening, cleansing. One of the men outside, tall, silent, with unreadable eyes, opened the back door of a black car. Not roughly, not threatening, just respectfully. My husband's voice echoed from inside. "You can't leave! You're mine! They'll take me!" Then a sudden, sharp command tore through the air. "Enough!" The stranger's voice. The house went silent. The men outside didn't move. I didn't look back, not once. Because people look back when they fear losing something. I had nothing left there to lose. I slid into the car. The door shut with a soft, final click. The stranger leaned into the open window before the car pulled away. "You made the right choice," he said. "You chose yourself." I looked at him. Calm, unreadable, chilling, and somehow protective all at once. "What happens to him now?" I asked quietly. He straightened. "He will answer to the people he tried to cheat. But you," he nodded at the black card in my hand, "will never be touched. Not by them. Not by anyone connected to them." He stepped back. "Goodbye." The car began to move. My husband's screams faded behind us. The house shrank. The streetlights blurred. And for the first time in a long, long time, I exhaled. A deep, shaky breath, filled not with fear, but with freedom. The stranger's warning echoed in my mind. He didn't just steal money. He gambled with your life. And the truth hit me. The danger I escaped wasn't the criminals. It was the man who thought I was disposable. As the car carried me away into the night, the realization settled over me like a quiet revelation. Sometimes the scariest escape isn't from danger. It's from the person you thought would keep you safe. And in that moment, I whispered to myself, I survived. And I will rebuild. I will heal. I will rise. Because losing him wasn't the end. It was the beginning. Did this story touch your heart? And tell me, which city or country are you listening from today? I'd truly love to hear from you in the comments. Your support means more than you know. If you enjoyed this story and want to help me continue creating more life-changing narratives, you can send a super thanks. Your kindness helps this channel, and I'm deeply grateful for it. I can't wait to read your thoughts and feelings about this story. And before you go, you'll see one new life stories on your screen. Both of them are powerful, emotional, and absolutely worth watching. There's so much more waiting for you on the channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join our growing family. Until the next life story, with love, respect, and gratitude.